all your worship can be done in the mind. And often it can be more effective than your worship in this world.
Right.
Right? You can sit there, and sometimes I do that when I travel. I have to do my puja, but I'm in a plane and I can't do it. And I don't like to do certain things publicly. So I'll have to like shut my external world off and go into an internal world of worship. And when I do my internal puja, I can be anywhere in the world. Generally, I go to the banks of the Ganga. Generally, I have conch shells that are filled with Ganga water or sacred ghee or milk. I'm bathing my deities in the most opulent ways.
In the most opulent ways.
Yeah, because I can manufacture it in my mind.
Right.
I'm wearing beautiful silk. First, I bathe myself. Then I apply tilak to my body. Then I sit on a kusha mat. Then I have all my deities ahead of me. And then my deities sometimes come to life and start to understand what's going on. And then I'm actually bathing Lord Nityananda. It's like I imagine I get so elaborate, Kaustubha. I can't even share with you what's going on. Then I'm starting to bake things for the deities and offer various fruits from around the planet. Things they can never just sort of find when I'm doing puja alone. And then they're offering of all these tulsi plants, and then different demigods are coming down and offering prayers. It's a whole thing. You can do it all in your mind. And they say that sometimes the Manasa pujas, the pujas done with the mind, are so real. Sometimes that internal world can manifest on the outside.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York City, Kaustubha Das. It's Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. It's episode 1628. Welcome to the show. Welcome. And it's Walk on Wednesday, and we have got some special guests, hardcore fans out there. But before we get into Carl Earth Crisis, Miss Mara, do you have any announcements?
I do. There's still some spaces left for your retreat with Lori Pag here at Super Soul Farm, July 18th through 20th. Flow, fly, and chant.
Woo!
If you're interested. And also this Sunday via the Bhakti Center is the monthly Urban Devi meeting, 11 to 12:30. And the topic is contemplative prayer in Bhakti Yoga.
I think it's contemplative.
Contemplative.
You went to private school, huh, Mayor? Didn't teach you that? Contemplative. I can help you. I practically dropped out.
Thank you.
So yeah, the Lori Pag retreat with myself. Looking forward to that at the farm. Bobby and Cindy have a retreat coming up in a couple weeks, actually. Next week.
Yeah, 10 days. I think their retreat is.
And then a woman's retreat is happening with Bobby in July.
No, August.
In August.
First weekend in August.
Anyway, if you want to know the Super Soul dates for this year, go to Raghunath.yoga, click on the Super Soul tab. It'll tell you everything else. We got a special Walk on Wednesday, Kaustubha.
All right.
We have Carl from Earth Crisis, who's now a prolific author. He's worked on this incredible book, and he reached out to me. Let's unmute those guys. They're
unmuted. They just need to start their video.
Oh, you got to start your video, guys. Click on your video. It's okay. It gets confusing. But, if you know who Carl is, he was a very, very outspoken and really changed the face of the hardcore music scene in the 90s. And Earth Crisis went on to tour the whole world. And their message of clean living and straight edge, and they sort of like whatever youth of today
to do with animal rights too, I believe, right?
Really into animal rights and clean living, and whatever youth of today did with straight edge, these guys took the torch and lit a bonfire, and it's really impressive and an honor to have them. We just can't see them right now because their video's not working for some reason. You got to click on that little video button, guys. Anyway, he and some friends wrote a book, and it's sort of like a youth novel, sort of adventure, fantasy, etc., called The Unraveling. But I said, well, and he's a very spiritual person, Carl, and he's done so much for the community. I thought, oh, we have to have him on the show. Um, but I said, well, what is the bridge between Bhakti? We have a lot of spiritual people, but we have a lot of people also into hardcore, and we have also a lot of people into animal rights and vegetarianism and veganism. And I said, like, what is the bridge? And he wrote this little thing that I thought I'd read. This era of human history is fraught with social pressure to cast doubt on the belief in God. The concept of a moral compass or a defined code of conduct is presented as a hindrance to personal freedom. Part of my mission with the book series is to encourage young readers to explore the concept of intelligent design. Perfect bridge.
So it's
Hey.
a book for young readers?
A book for young readers. Hey, that's Keith and Carl right there. Hey, Keith.
Hey,
Hey, how are
sorry.
you? It's what's going on? I can't see you, but I
I see your ceiling now. We're getting
Your
closer.
ceiling
You can see the ceiling?
Quite
That's
lovely.
huge. We'll
There we
take
go.
that.
There we go. There's
How's
Carl.
that? Can you see Carl?
Yeah, now we see Carl. Hey, Carl, how are you?
Good. Thank you for the intro, and thanks for having Keith and I on.
Thanks, guys. It's it's like an incredible journey you've been on, and it's so good to see people who were part of that massive movement that was happening in the 80s and 90s. And there's people here from Syracuse now. I mean, we used to play up with you guys. Shelter used to play with you guys in Syracuse, and it was a whole thing. It was huge, and there's still the residue of it. That's 30 years ago, Carl.
Yes, and thank you again for taking Earth Crisis on tour with Shelter.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great tour. Unfortunately, you guys got in that horrific car accident on that trip.
We did. We
Yeah.
did. But hey, up until then, it was great.
Up until the horrific car accident was great. That's part of touring adventure. They hit
That's right.
black ice and they just slid off. I mean, hundreds of cars slid off the road that day. It was black
Yeah.
ice. We were up in somewhere in Washington State.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sidetrack because I really want to talk about your book. Can you tell us about your book? Who's the age grade it's about? It is fitting in with like a lot of fantasy stuff that out there, but it's got some type of lift up the soul type of feeling to it. You want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Council of Crows is book one in the Unraveling series. Over the last 10 years, my friends Jeremy, Keith, and I took a short story that I wrote and basically turned it into a world in some ways akin to that of Narnia or Middle Earth. But all the characters are animals, and the animals have inherited the world, and they are looking back at human history and trying to piece together why so many of us were so awful to them. So it's an adventure story. It has action and comedy, but at the heart of it, I want it to be a teaching tool that will hopefully, when kids are reading it, they'll start learning things and they'll start questioning, well, why did these things happen to animals in laboratories or in factory farms? I don't really want to be a part of this. I want to step away from this. So that message is very prevalent in the work.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, and that is, I think, exactly what youth. I mean, youth want to get lost in a world of fantasy, in a world of sort of otherworldliness, but unless it's got those very, very weighty messages, it can just be another distraction. And it's good to see that theme going through it. Have you guys? So this is going to be a series of books.
Yeah.
Are we talking like a Narnia or my generation missed that, or at least maybe I missed that. But it's a series. You're writing in a bigger, like how many will come out?
So right now we have 3 scheduled in the main series. There's a prequel comic book, a wave of short stories that come out to engage, like people who are engaged in the products. And then we've been talking a little bit about like a backstory, but we'll see how that goes. We've got another book and a half still left to write. So
It's like Star Wars, Kaustubha. This is gonna be like
sounds quite an ambitious project.
I know it's so true. And you have a publisher that's behind it and excited about it.
Oh yeah, so the book that you see in front of you was published by Third World Studios and has global distribution from Simon and Schuster. So yeah, we're super excited to be working with those people.
Oh, I mean, this is like, I could see this as a great movie too. I bet
Yeah.
I bet they're thinking like that as well.
We now that you've said it. The audio book is being made right now, and that comes out through Recorded Books in mid-July. And the narrator that's reading is Peter Bradbury, and he actually did a Star Wars book.
Is he doing all different voices of the animals?
So we'll get sent some real soon. They just started recording last Friday, so I think they'll start sending stuff up. Right now, we just don't know. Maybe he'll do a bunch of voices, but he's got this great, sort of little Northern British thing going on. So I'm already a big fan.
Raghunath, he does great voices.
Yeah, if you need anybody to do voices, I'm very, very good at voices.
Terrific.
I did Kaustubha's voice in my book, my memoir.
Did you really?
To Monk, I did Kaustubha's voice. I did many, many voices. Did old Indian sadhu voices. Are you guys friends from the old days, from the old hardcore scene?
We became friends through our mutual friend Jeremy, and he was an Earth Crisis fan through his teenage years. The first mosh pit he was ever in was actually at a Destroy the Machines show in the early 90s.
Oh, wow. All right. And I think there's a lot of people out there either listening now or do listen to what was either part of the Syracuse scene. I mean, Earth Crisis had such a powerful effect in the 90s when a lot of the music scene went from sort of like positive outlook to clean living, and then it went to like nothingness. People just stopped writing significant lyrics, and lyrics were nebulous and made to sort of, to figure them out themselves. But you guys came with a direct message, and I will say people rallied behind it. They changed the trajectory of their life. They made better choices. I
would think in time you could say it's reverberated far beyond that scene. Right?
Yeah, there's been such ripple effects. You want to share anything about that time in Earth Crisis back then? And yeah.
Well, I would not be me without Youth of Today.
Thank you.
And Shelter. So thank you so much for that. I remember where I was when I got Break Down the Walls on a turntable for the first time. It was at my friend Corey's house. And I picked that up. He had moved to Syracuse from Rhode Island. And he said, I've seen this band at the living room and they are phenomenal. And you definitely lived up to your reputation. And I spent so much time just loving the lyric sheet and the images and the music that it had a profound effect on me. And it made me want to be a part of that world. And to think that, 14 years later, I would be on tour with Shelter and you would hand me the mic and say, you're going to sing Right Down the Walls. I was like, I'll sing it every night.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And I was also thinking that, there was an interesting connection because in so many ways we were living like sort of parallel worlds, if not like there was like a marriage between your message and our message. And I felt like you and I were always trying to think of how to meld that together somewhat. And I think it just naturally did. I think there was both fans of both bands that could really resonate. And I have people that come up to me, and I'm sure you have people that came up to you that said, I didn't follow all the teachings that you guys did, but it definitely affected me in a big way. And I'm sure with Earth Crisis, it was the same way. You really, really changed people's hearts at a very impressionable time of their lives when they were looking for change. You still must get tons of messages, emails, etc. about that.
It's very rewarding, to think that, songs that I wrote with my friends in his mother's basement 35 years ago, people still want to hear them.
Yes.
People have, they've got our logo with the wrenches tattooed on them. They've got lyrics up and down their rib cage or their arm. I mean, it is amazing how powerful this mystical force that is music actually is. You know,
Yeah.
that it vibrates and it resonates and it continues to have influence. So thank you for shelter and thank you for Youth of Today for
Great.
real.
Thank you. And Keith, were you the artist, or did you guys hire an artist separately, or did the publisher, or one of you guys the artist?
No, so the three of us actually write together. So
How the hell do you do that? I
yeah,
can't. I have a hard enough time writing myself. I can't imagine bringing in a team of people.
we'll often sit and outline a draft. Like we just pulled a bunch of note cards off the window in the office here, and we'll outline together. We'll each take a chapter. We'll bring that chapter back, share it with each other, refine together in room, final pass, stamp of approval, and then it goes to the editors. So our art, the cover that you're looking at, there's 9 illustrations interior. That's Zulfikar Rahman. He's out of Indonesia, and we've been working with him for about 3 years. We just picked him up for another 20 illustrations and a new cover. So we're excited.
Kaustubha, these guys are so good, so pro. We gotta raise up our game here.
For sure.
We gotta make our Krishna conscious youth, children's adventure, fantasy.
Well, I
something
got a
like that.
story, Raghunath. You've never
got a
taken
story?
interest in it.
I've taken a lot of interest in it.
No, you haven't.
You read my book, and then I'll read your story. How about that?
All right.
What do you think about this, guys? He has not read my memoir yet, and he's included in it.
I'm tempted to read their book first. It sounds really interesting.
But it's not an illustrated novel. It's not you, Kaustubha. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to these guys.
No,
It's not an
No,
illustrated novel. It's a book. It's a reading.
it's a chapter book for middle grades kids. So we always say, hey, if you're between 8 and 108, it's probably going to hit you right square in the chops. But we did include 9 illustrations just to kind of help create. We kind of, all three of us love Don Bluth films from the 80s and 90s. And so we wanted to have some of that art style be brought back for this. And Zool was just such an incredibly talented dude that we were excited to work on it. It's really funny too, because I was listening to you talk about like the meld of ideas between your world and Carl's. I was like thinking to myself how funny, in a lot of ways, what Carl poured into this is a little bit of that meld. Like we introduced the all spirit, this non-nebulous, very clear cut, directly interacting with characters that bestows power and love and joy. And then the first prophet of the all spirit passes away, and we're waiting for her return.
Okay, this is the Unraveling's higher power.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So even just listening to the pair of you talking, I was like, oh wow, this in some ways could be a little bit that moment. Like we lose the first prophet in a backstory, and one of our characters towards the end of the novel welcomes him back in new form. And it's subtle. I think if you're 8, 9, 10, you might not notice it. I think if it's somebody our age, you go, oh my, like that's
right.
That's a neat moment to see that restoration of, or the return of a force when things go astray.
In the writing of in the band Earth Crisis, that's 30 years ago, was there, I mean, you put sort of ethical parameters on the things that you wrote. Was there a concept of higher power and source back then, or was this something that came later?
Oh, I've always believed in God, and I think it's there in the lyrics of Eye of Babylon, Fate of the Neo Gods, Eden's Demise. I mean, it's definitely there. Yeah.
I'm going to go back and play Earth Crisis records today, I think. Thank you.
And everyone should listen to Shelter's album Mantra. That's my favorite.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Anyway, you guys, really impressive what you've done. And if there's any way I can get a copy that I can give to my 11-year-old to read, I texted you my email address.
Ooh.
See if the publisher, or I texted you my address, but see if the publisher can send one. But I recommend everybody to get this book today. Just go to Amazon. We'll put the link on the show notes. It's already up on the message board. It seems like there's getting a lot of traction. We got the crazy Croatian guy. We got Vegan Trucker. They're all giving thumbs up to this. So I think we're gonna help support this, and I'm looking forward to doing it in the future. And when the movie comes out, or when the next book comes out, call us again, and we will get you back on the podcast.
Thank you, and we'll get a book to you and your partner. We'll get one to you,
Oh, thank you.
Kaustubha, as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
And thank you for having us on. And I've really enjoyed watching this podcast too. And if people have been skipping around, definitely check out the episode these guys did with the gang member. I think he was from the Midwest.
Oh yeah, the Indian gang member who moved to Chicago?
Yes, that
Well,
was wild.
That was a wild one. Yeah, man, he's like a little Indian boy. His parents are Indians. They moved to a temple in Chicago, and he ends up joining the Latin Kings. That's a very good episode.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
Okay, my friend. Thanks so much, Keith. Nice to meet you. And Carl, great to see you again. Keep up the good work. Super impressed.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Looking forward to this. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's when there's a shift in perspective, just like any little shift in perspective can open a mind, and just to say, let's look at this from the perspective of the animals.
Oh, I know. That was
even
great. That was a great thing. Like, who were these people?
Who were these people?
Who were these horrible bipeds? Why did they do this to us? Why was there no concept that we are living beings? Why did they pet some of us?
Shouldn't it be obvious?
Put some of us on their laps, dress some of us up, give us names and identities, and yet the rest of us are treated like it's beyond slavery. It's just like we're in a lab. We're in a lab. We're getting tested upon. It's almost it. If you look at it from this vantage point, it's actually insane. It's actually insane. And sometimes when people, and this is another reason why I think Carl made such a big impact on the world, is because when people do have that paradigm shift, like I'm killing animals, they get to this point like, what the hell was I thinking? What the hell was I thinking? And it hits them in such a deep way, they'll be like, never again. And so a lot of these people, they never became maybe even dead-on vegans or joined the Hare Krishnas, but it did change them for the rest of their life, the way they think. And that's why I think these bands like Youth of Today or Earth Crisis, people are still really attached to the message, even as much as the music.
Yeah, it gives meaning to your life, right?
It gives
Purpose,
substance to your life.
Yeah.
They still identify. I know 48-year-old men walking around with X's on their hands like, I'm straight edge. It's just a big part of what they are, how they raise their family, who they choose to marry, the values they set up in their marriage, family, in their marriage relationships, etc.
Okay, now I'm posting on the chat board right now the image that this is my story here, Raghunath. You haven't taken interest. I tried to get you into this.
I'm very interested. Look, Kaustubha's got a.
It's on the back burner.
Are you trying to steal their thunder here? They made a graphic novel. Now you're saying, no, I've got one better?
This isn't a graphic novel. This would be a graphic novel. Good artist, though, right?
What is this?
What you see? I told you took no interest in it. What the hell is it? I shared with you this story like a long time ago.
Till there's nothing left but love. Let me retitle that for you.
This maybe I shouldn't have shared it.
It is a little too soft for the kids out there.
You think it's too soft?
I think it's too soft. I think I make it a little more edgier, like
What do
the
you think?
unraveling. That's what people want to hear. It's going crazy. It's unraveling, but the message is there. Tough on the outside,
All right,
sweet and
soft.
juicy on the inside.
Okay.
Like a candy bar.
Yeah. Oh, you see, Nityananda, he's recognizing the artist.
Okay, so what is this? Tell
it's
us about
just
your novel now.
No, this
First, everybody buy their novel.
This
Now talk
doesn't
about
even
yours.
exist. This may never exist. But
It's just
if
a
I can get
cover?
this other book done, I would love to. This was the idea. This would be a graphic novel, and it's a story about kids from the early hardcore scene in New York, one in particular, and I don't know if I should get into the whole story now, but anyway, he goes through his coming of age and his struggles internally, and ultimately he has to escape New York, and he ends up in India. And there's only one character who's a real life character in the book, and that's
You.
Indra Prabhu.
Okay.
Because he goes to South India, he gets trained in yoga and philosophy, and then his guru there sends him to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan he meets Indra, and that's where he really learns bhakti. And then he has to come back to New York and unravel all of the different knots that were in his life from before.
Can't use that word though. That's been taken.
Well, I'm not using it in the
Unraveling
title.
is their
You can't
word.
use the word at all anymore.
You want to just call it unravel? Maybe call your book Unravel. Unravel. It's not unraveling. It's
Get
unravel.
it out quick.
Okay. That's pretty good too, Kaustubha. That's a great book too.
But this, you know, this devotee, he's a great artist. He goes by Nasimo. You can see him.
Yes, okay.
You can see go to his
All right, I'm going right now. I'm gonna
Instagram.
check out his
Yeah.
nasimo.org.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's good.
Okay.
Very
Let's
good.
not talk about it too much, otherwise it'll never happen.
Keep your dreams private until
Now
they
you tell me.
manifest, and then tell the world. Tell the
Okay.
world.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That
Thank you,
dream
Raghunath.
in your
You've
heart.
helped me in so many ways just this morning.
Keep that dream in your heart. Water that little bud, that
Okay.
little graft, that little seedling, and then we'll
Alright.
spread the word about it. Because I think
Okay.
it's a good. You're off to something good.
All
All right, Carl Earth Crisis. That was great to have him on the show.
Yeah. Very nice.
You missed that era. You were sort of walking around distributing books.
Well, not entirely. I wasn't into. I was a brahmachari at that time, but I was very aware of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
I remember
Um,
Sarvabhauma was on that tour with you, or at least he attended one of those shows, and I said to him, "Hey, Sarv, how did it go?" Sarv said, "Oh, you know." Sarv's like this very close friend of mine, but he's like much older than me. He's like 20 years older than me, right?
and he's very, very soft and
sweet,
meek
humble,
and humble and sweet like anything. And he's
Yes.
definitely not hardcore.
No, definitely not hardcore. But he
Definitely
said, "Oh well, yeah, Raghunath's band is doing really good, but that band Earth Crisis, they're really, I mean, the people are really catching on to them. They've got a lot of energy out there."
Earth Crisis took it to the next level. I mean, they took the musical sound to the next level. It was really like jut 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 bah jut 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 bah. Have that thing, and people would lose their marbles.
Did you consider moving in that direction a little bit?
Nah, it was
Staying up at
never
the
my
time?
thing. I just it's okay. Truthfully, at that point in my life, I was sort of over. I just wrote music, whatever inspiration was in my mind, but I didn't listen to music. I didn't listen to
Okay.
music. I was just listening to Krishna bhajans.
All right.
I was like as out there as I was, because I was out there in the 90s touring circuit. But
But inwardly,
I really kept myself insulated in a private Krishna world. It was like I was a monk, and I insulated myself from the whole outside world, even though I was in that world.
well, I'll tell you something, Raghu. If we can cover a few verses today, we're going to be talking about the inner life. Now,
Oh yeah?
this connects. Now we got a little connection.
Okay, we're talking about the birth of Lord Krishna today. It's very
Yeah.
exciting. The Advent. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiriyat. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is every means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva vadrishu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in class in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, Text 9 through 10, and we are in the birth of Lord Krishna.
It's happening right now.
Text 9 through 10, ready?
Yeah.
Vasudeva then saw this newborn child who had very wonderful lotus-like eyes and who bore in his 4 hands the 4 weapons, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. I guess 2 of them are not weapons, but
No, 2 of them are like kind of blessings. The Padma, the lotus,
Mhm.
and the shanka,
The shanka, the
conch
conch.
shell. Although if you hit someone with that, it could hurt.
Yeah. Yes. The chakra and the gada is that flaming wheel and the club.
Okay.
On his chest was the mark of Srivatsa. So this is a marking that all the avatars of Vishnu have. It's like a golden hair on the
All the
chest.
avatars of Vishnu?
Everybody's got Srivatsa.
Really? You sure? Like
I'm
korma?
sh- I'm
Korma?
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
He got a little fur on the shell there. You sure?
You know, I think so. Even the reptile are turtles reptiles? Yes. Henry says
Definitely
yes.
all the Vishnu expansions have it.
Maybe it's under his shell and the inside,
Inside
that
the
little
shell?
hair that no one could see.
All right.
Um,
Matsya, he's got a little on the
Muttsy's got a
scales.
little hair. No one thought of these things, Kaustubha, ever.
No, I don't think it's all the avatars, but I think it's all the Vishnu expansions have it.
Okay. Okay. On his chest was the mark of Shivatsa, and on his neck, the brilliant Kaustubha gem.
Mm-hmm.
You must have been psyched when you got that name. Kaustubha!
When it was said, I honestly, it went right over my head. I didn't even know what was going on.
What is a
Confused.
Kaustubha? Did you know what a Kaustubha was?
I kind of felt like I was in the eye of a storm, and
Mhm.
it kind of just blew past me for a while.
Yeah. Dressed in yellow, his blackish body like a dense cloud, his scattered hair fully grown, and his helmet and earrings sparkling uncommonly with the valuable gem Vaidurya. The child, decorated with a brilliant belt, armlets, bangles, and ornaments, appeared very wonderful.
Okay. So it's not an ordinary child that appeared. He's,
It's not an ordinary birth, that's for sure.
yeah, he's fully decorated. He's
Got a helmet on.
Yeah, it's good. Did it say
I've
helmet?
never seen a child being born with a helmet.
Yeah. Okay, now this next verse, Raghunath, is very interesting on many levels.
When
Textually.
Vasudeva saw his extraordinary son, his eyes were struck with wonder. In transcendental jubilation, he mentally collected 10,000 cows and distributed them among the Brahmanas as a transcendental festival. So he's in jail.
Yeah.
He can't give charity, which is what you normally do on holy occasions. So he mentally gave charity. All your worship can be done in the mind, and often it can be more effective than your worship in this world.
Right.
Right? You can sit there, and sometimes I do that when I travel. I have to do my pūjā, but I'm in a plane and I can't do it, and I don't like to do certain things publicly, so I'll have to like shut my external world off and go into an internal world of worship. And when I do my internal puja, I can be anywhere in the world. Generally, I go to the banks of the Ganga. Generally, I have conch shells that are filled with Ganga water or sacred ghee or milk. I'm bathing my deities in the most opulent ways.
In the most opulent ways.
Yeah, because I can manufacture it in my mind. I'm
Right.
wearing beautiful silk. First, I bathe myself. Then I apply tilak to my body. Then I sit on a kusha mat. Then I have all my deities ahead of me. And then my deities sometimes come to life and start to understand what's going on. And then I'm actually bathing Lord Nityananda. It's like I imagine I get so elaborate, Kaustubha. I can't even share with you what's going on. Then I'm starting to bake things for the deities and offer various fruits from around the planet. You know, things they can never just sort of find when I'm doing puja alone. And then they're offering with all these tulsi plants, and then different demigods are coming down and offering prayers. It's a whole thing. You can do it all in your mind. And they say that sometimes the Manasa pujas, the pujas done with the mind, are so real. Sometimes that internal world can manifest on the outside. Famous story is the story of someone cooking sweet rice for their deity, and they went to see if the sweet rice was hot, and they burned their hand. In the external world,
Yeah.
they burn their hand on the internal world.
I believe that story is originally in the Padma Purana, but it's mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, I believe, right? That Rupa Goswami drew from that.
Chartamrita, but maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's right.
and so he he describes that there's one Brahmana, poor, no, he's got no money,
Money.
and no opulence. And there's these wandering sadhus too. They don't have a kitchen or pots or those kind of things. But in his heart, he wants to make an offering to Krishna or to Vishnu. And so he just as you were describing, he collects all the ingredients, right? And then he begins to cook. And he's doing it with the same kind of attention, or maybe even more attention, right?
Yeah.
Than someone would be doing externally. And so he takes his time and he collects just the right ingredients and he's cooking it, and he wants to offer it once it's done. It's nothing like sweet rice, right? And so now he wants to touch it to test the temperature. And when he touches it in his meditation, it burns his fingers. It's still too hot. But what happens was that burning sensation kind of woke him up out of I guess his meditation was so deep, it was practically like a state of trance, right? Like if someone would have walked up to him and said hello, he probably wouldn't have even acknowledged it. And then he feels, so that burn kind of shakes him out of it. And then he looks at his fingers, and his finger actually really was burnt. How did that happen? And so he's in a momentary state of wonder. And at that
The
moment,
internal world comes to the external. It's almost like when you're laughing in your dream and you wake up laughing. It's like your internal world comes to your external world.
but even this was, physically, there was a burn on his finger, right? So it's even, like one step deeper. But then as he was in that state of wonder, he looked up and Vishnu was coming, right, to take him back. But this is, first of all, it's said that there are 4 reasons why, because the verse opens up with saying, when Vasudeva saw his extraordinary son, his eyes were struck with wonder. And there's 4 reasons given why he experienced this wonder. Maybe we can get into those later. But then it says, okay, now he's in a transcendental jubilation, it says. And he does this thing that he would have done externally had he had the opportunity, right? But he's in a jail cell. He doesn't have any resources. But the natural thing and the common thing, and you could say the cultural thing, right? The cultural norm here is that when the child is born, you want to give in charity. And one could ask, like, why? Like, what's the point there? And it's, it's such a well thought out culture. A lot of the things, like we do these things, I suppose in America, at least until sometime recently, when the child's born, you give out cigars, right?
Yeah.
You
I
go to
gave
the
in
hospital.
charity 1,000 cigars out.
Yeah.
1,000
I mean, there is the thought of that giving
cigars.
out. I suppose that has to do with just like celebrating or something.
Yeah.
But here it's more than just celebration. It's like you're thinking of the welfare of the child, and right from the moment of its birth, you're saying, I want all the people, especially like the really worthy people, the people that are really capable of giving blessings. I want them to be satisfied, and I want their minds and hearts to be favorably disposed toward the well-being of my child. Right?
Yeah.
Let me
Birth,
please them.
birth, death. It also happens.
Death does happen. It generally follows birth. And
Not
and
usually immediately.
and so here's the tradition that you would give in charity, especially to the Brahmanas, right? Especially to the simple living, deep spiritual leaders. You try to please them in that moment. So they're connecting that moment of the birth of your child as a happy and joyful event, and their hearts are kindly disposed, especially disposed. So you want to bring that auspiciousness right into the very first moments of the child's birth.
Me and Henry were talking about this yesterday. I said death because me and Henry were saying we need plans that when we die, so we got to direct people what to do with our bodies. People forget to do these things because no one actually thinks they're going to die. But where do we want our bodies? Where do we want our ashes put? Who's going to do it? Can we sponsor a feast? Can we sponsor a feast every year when I die? So every year we get the blessings of the devotees. This is what we got to think. We got to start thinking like this. Bring auspiciousness into all these phases of human existence.
Right.
Anyway, that was a little bit of a squirrel. It was also a squirrel that I wanted to mention about touching hot milk. Yamuna Devi told me you never touch it with your finger.
No, just
because that's your fingernail is considered very dirty. So imagine if you had to touch something to see if it's hot. You put in your knuckle. You put your knuckle.
Your knuckle. You do. I just do the flat part of the finger.
Knuckle. A little dirty nail could get right in there.
Knuckle?
It can have knuckle. Right?
Did she teach you that?
She taught me that. Knuckle.
She said knuckle. Okay.
Knuckle. Okay.
You sure she wasn't calling you a knucklehead?
No, I don't think that was it. I think like Raghunath, I have some very, very valuable information I can only import just to you. I leave you this treasure house of information
now you've
to
shared
distribute
it with
to the world. Help Kaustubha in his struggle.
I
said, okay, Yamuna Devi, I accept up this mission.
But you know, it is a really profound thing that within this tradition, it's a tradition that's very rich in meditation. And in one sense, it's all about meditation, right? Like when I define yoga, I like to define it by saying yoga is a practice which empowers one to overcome the obstacle of the mind, right? For the purpose of the self experiencing its own true nature. So yoga is always directed towards the mind. If we're doing anything external, whether it's a mantra, chanting a mantra out loud, right? Because mantras can also be chanted internally just through meditation. But if we're chanting a mantra out loud, if we're doing an asana, if there's any particular ritual that's being done, etc., if there's any aspect of etiquette that's being carried out, the person that's really connecting is able to tie it back exactly what they're doing externally, understanding its purpose as being its effect on one internally, effect on one's mind. It's always addressing the mind. And so therefore, one can actually just do it all in the mind. You know, if the external activity is meant to bring your mind somewhere, and if you can bring your mind there without doing the external activity, then it's just as valid and just as dynamic, right?
I offer a challenge here, or a practice. Everybody, maybe after the show, close your eyes and see Krishna, and when you do that, you'll realize how, at least in my own life, I'm like, wow, I actually can't envision Krishna that well. I can't envision what he's wearing, what his crown looks like, what his earrings look like, what his jewelry looks like. And so you have to practice, because it's a little bit of a crutch to have Krishna on the altar. It's a little bit of a crutch to have Krishna in a painting.
Yeah, we accept the crutch.
Close your eyes. You have to think. Like sometimes people will go have darshan. They'll go to a temple, see the deities, and so we'll say, "What was Krishna wearing?" And they'll be like, "Oh, what do you mean? What color was he wearing today?" So these are things we have to actually take note of. And I think people who are sort of like police officers may get trained in this, like, what was he wearing? What did he look like? What did he do? They get trained in like holding recognition within their spies. Yes, spies too. But like holding recognition in your mind. And what you can do is you can take a look, like right now there's a painting above my computer of Krishna holding a flute. So can I close my eyes and have that like literally carved in my mind's eye? And this is great because there are going to be times when we need to go into this type of meditation, maybe from a very dark time in our life where we just close our minds and we have that beautiful picture completely carved in our mind's eye. And it's a great practice to do. And you could practice by sitting in front of a picture, closing your eyes, sitting in front of a picture, opening your eyes, and then closing your eyes, and see if you can still see that. And you could do that in front of your altar, in front of your deities. I do that sometimes with my deities. Explicitly, how do they look? Really explicitly, how do they look? And how are they dressed? What kind of peacock feathers does Krishna have? And we develop a whole internal world that you can take with you wherever you go.
The internal world of Raghu. Fascinating arena.
I'm trying to let you in. I'm trying to
let me in, Raghunath. Let me in.
I'm trying to help you here. You're not listening.
I'm sorry.
You don't
You're
listen.
Not listening.
You don't listen. You can't learn.
Okay. You know, what you're sharing is really important. You know, there has to be any kind of spiritual practice or religious practice, if you want to call it that, right? is going, if it's going to get deep and it's going to get real and it's going to get meaningful and it's going to get transformative, right? It's one thing if you say my religious practice is just to align myself with the particular faith, and once I've done that, I'm covered. Well, then, okay, fine. But if you actually want to transform, right?
Yeah.
Then it really requires a tenacity, to always realize why am I doing what I'm doing, and deepen it, right? And try to always find that purpose to what you're doing. Try to always be connected to that purpose. Like you're saying, yeah, I remember sometimes you'd meet devotees and they'd say, you'd come back from the temple and say, well, how was the deity dressed? Right? Because they want to see, did you just pass through there?
They just
Just blow through there?
testing you.
Huh?
They're testing you.
Yeah, just like if you met, like, oh, I met, some celebrity, right? I met Beyonce or something like that. Oh, how was she dressed? I'll tell you exactly how she was dressed, right? Because I would be, the moment would be so unique and moving for a person, right?
Sure.
Well, okay, you walk in the temple and you walk away, you can't even tell me how Krishna was dressed. Like, where's your mind at, right? Well,
See, this is what we're trying to develop, and this is what the 10th Canto tries to develop, is how do you develop love? How do you develop real love?
yeah,
Not just like, I love them, I want to consume them, but what is Krishna like? How does he dress? What does he wear? What are his favorite foods? What does he like to do? And this is what we do when we start to fall in love with someone of this world. What was Beyonce wearing? Oh, I love when she does this. What can I do to help her? When we fall in love with someone, be it a celebrity or a hero or a fan, we're a fan of somebody's, or there's somebody in our family that we love. We want to take care of them. We want to nurture them. The Bhagavatam teaches how to do that for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very interesting.
yeah. Well, I was thinking of like lessons that we can kind of learn from. Here's this example of Vasudeva trapped in the prison, but he's in a state of jubilation, your transcendental jubilation, it mentions. And the first thing he does is he goes within and starts to do this. Even Vishnu sitting right there externally, right there, right?
Mm.
He does this internal practice. I guess his heart was like overflowing, and he felt the need to give in that way. And he's doing it internally. And what lessons? And one is that we should feel that there's never an external impediment to our practice or an external impediment to our seva. Even though all the externals may seem to be problematic, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where we are, or not that there aren't things that are really favorable and helpful externally, but ultimately, there's no external impediment to our giving our heart fully with love, to God. But the other one is kind of what you've been hitting on a lot here, Raghunath, is that we should never be lazy internally. Feel like we can feel, oh, I covered all the bases externally, right? I've done all the things. I went to the temple. Okay, but you didn't even really look at Krishna. Nothing happened. Nothing was ignited in your mind or in your heart when you were there. And I think that's when I was saying, there has to be a certain tenacity there. That's because it will be easy for us to just check the boxes. I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that, and nothing happened inside. Satchidananda Swami is a person that I think this is really part of what he tries to offer people, right? Is don't be lazy on this. Don't be neglectful on your internal life. Don't be dead inside. When you meet these really deep Krishna bhaktas that whose hearts have become soft and have gone, everything in their practice is infused with love, which is the very goal of our practice. You see, like for them, sometimes you even get them, they speak kind of like, it's not uncommon, right? You'll meet some Vrindavan sadhu or something like that, and they'll speak kind of like this, like, it's almost like a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're speaking in this kind of corrective tone, and they'll say like heavy things like your devotion is dead. It's hollow. It's not alive, because you're just doing the externals, but you're not feeling it within. And this idea of doing that internal puja, we have to be doing the internal puja even if we're doing the external puja, right? It has to be external and internal. And if we can't do it external, we can still do it internal. But either way, it has to be happening on the internal level.
I'm gonna give a shout out to artists right now.
Artists.
Like I'm watching like Sarah Ditto right now. She's a tattooist, but there's other artists out there, but just painters or dancers, people who do classical Indian dancing, or dramatists, or
Sculptors.
people who are good dramatists. They can really step into this deeper meditation and mental meditation where they really have to enter into it
Yeah.
to really refine it. Here's how I'm going to paint Krishna. This is what he's wearing. This is what he looks like. This is the shape of his head. This is the shape of his hands. This is the shape of his belly. This is the shape. This is what his peacock feathers look like. And the dancers do this as well. They get really into Krishna, and the dramatists also do this. They get into the sort of the personality of Krishna or Radha or of all these characters.
I shared that story
helps you enter into the mood.
I think I've shared that story on the show before, but I once interviewed, I'm forgetting her name now. She's a Russian girl, or maybe Ukrainian or Russian, but she grew up a lot in Vrindavan. Her parents are devotees, and she became really expert at Odissi dance,
Oh yeah.
right? Which is a beautiful form of Indian classical dance.
We saw her with Indra Swami, I think.
She's her parents are Indra Swami's disciples, yeah.
Okay.
And I was interviewing her, and she was telling me about dancing, and Odissi dance was developed to be performed for the deities in the temple, right? In the Jagannath temple,
Yeah.
right? And so she was telling me that she had the opportunity to dance before Radha Raman in Vrindavan, right? In this really, of all the temples in Vrindavan, the one that's probably most known for its strong cultural tradition, right, in terms of the arts, is probably the Radharaman temple. So it's a real honor, to be asked to dance in this 500-year-old temple before this deity that was self-manifested, in this atmosphere where the Brahmanas and the heads of the temple are really particular that things be done well and things be done right. And she was doing an Odissi dance where she plays the role of Radharani.
Mm.
And I asked her, what's it like to what's the feeling? What does it feel like to dance in the role of Radha before Krishna in the form of Radharaman in that temple? And her answer was I found it really profound. And she said, in one sense, to dance as Krishna is easy. Because it's like, okay, he's being naughty, he's being like this, he's being like that. But she said, when I had to dance as Radha, I was really lost. I had no idea, how do I express her internal feelings? And she said, I really felt lost for a long time, and I had to pray. I had to really go deep within and pray and try to understand her mood, what it is that she feels, so that I could try to express that. And Odissi dance involves not just bodily movement, but facial expressions and there you go. Yeah, Raghunath. Okay.
Dropping her glasses.
And so I could see how the art itself pulled her into a deep state of contemplation, right? Pulled her into a deep state of meditation, and that's whatever it is that we're doing externally is meant to, what is our principle, right? What is it? Smartavyam satatam Vishnu, Vishvartam no najatuchit. That our principle is always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That's that when we really have love, that's how it'll be. We're always remembering, we're never forgetting. And then the next lines are, what is it? Smartavya satatam Vishnu, Vishvartam no najatuchit. Sarve vidi nasedasyor. All of the different regulations, sarva vidi. Etiyor eva kinkara, they're all the servants of this principle, right? So whatever I'm doing, it has to be increasing and stimulating an internal remembrance, an internal meditation. Otherwise, it's hollow, right? And it just becomes a hollow ritual. And of course, this is something that we're all challenged with every morning when we pick up our bead bag and begin to chant. Am I just, okay, I did my 16.
Right.
Or are we actually, is there an internal experience that's taken place? Right? Something we need to constantly strive for. But it is so interesting that was his first reaction, was to do this internal meditation, in that prison cell.
Mr. Kaustubha,
Yes, sir.
it is time to hear from Miss Mara.
All right. Hello, Miss Mara.
Hello. Ready
Good
for
show
some
today.
takeaways?
Fun show today.
What you got?
All right. Mentally worship and give charity when you can't do it externally.
Okay.
By the way, I paid you back that $20.
I was going to say, can we pay for the retreat that way?
I did a Manasa payment
When did that come-
This is real.
on a Manasa PayPal. You might have heard of it.
Bring auspiciousness to birth and death.
Okay. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yoga is always directed towards the mind.
Mm-hmm.
The external rituals are meant for internal meditation.
We're such maleches. We're giving out cigars.
There's never an external impediment to our practice of giving our heart fully to God.
Never.
Never.
You can take your internal world wherever you go.
Take it.
You can. Isn't that great? You can take it to prison. You going to prison? Got some good news for you. You can create an entire beautiful internal world. I bet a lot of people who are going through the personal hell of this world right now, or the devotees in Russia, during the Soviet Union, or that were in prison. I bet they went there. We really got to get some Russians on the show who've had that experience.
Okay.
Don't check the external boxes, but be lazy inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Transformation requires tenacity and staying connected to purpose.
There you go.
Carve Krishna's image into the mind's eye.
Oh. Ah.
And
The mind's eye, not
The
the
mind's eye.
eyeball, not the eyeball.
accept the external crutch.
Accept that crutch, Shirley.
What? What does that mean?
Like the thing, the external, like the deities, the paintings,
Okay.
the images, it's all just
That was
external.
coming from you, Raghunath.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to Carl and Keith. The Unraveling is their book. Make sure you get that. Pick up that book. Give them some support. I think it's gonna be. I think we're on the ground level. I think that book could blow up into a huge, dolls, movies, other dolls,
Action figures.
cartoons, action figures, stickers, Halloween
The
costumes.
Council of the Crows, Raghunath. They all
Council
got
of the
together.
Crows. Yeah, I love it.
Now, do humans do such bad stuff to crows? Not so much.
I think humans like crows. Anyway, Kaustubha,
Yes?
thanks for joining us. Maybe you and me should make a book together, huh? It'd be like we just fight the whole way through. No, it's got to be like this. No, yeah. See how they work together so nicely, those two, Kaustubha?
Yeah.
You should take some notes from them. How to work together as a team.
No, Raghunath, I told my story to Bridge and Mulga one day at the Eco Village. They were in tears. They're in tears. Then I gave it to you. You didn't even look at it. That's why I haven't read your book.
You've been hurt, haven't you?
I've been hurt.
You've been hurt, and you've buried that wound. You've buried it over. Skin has grown over that glass in the wound. Now you're just walking around with that pain, with that crying.
I think I don't have
You know
a
what?
heart,
When I see
Raghunath.
you,
I
you
do.
can cry.
I
You can
do.
cry to me when I see you. I'm gonna take you and put you in my bosom.
I don't want to be near your bosom.
I'm gonna put you right on my bosom, Kaustubha.
Keep your bosom to yourself.
Right out of you.
A simple apology will do.